Order. I've called Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Trade and asks, does he still consider that the United States will benefit from being part of the Trans-Pacific Partnership? If so, how?
The Honourable Murray McCulley.
On behalf of the Minister of Trade, yes, clearly all 9 parties see benefits of such an agreement, which is why they're in Auckland this week for a 4th round of negotiations.
Supplementary.
Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Has the Minister been briefed on the submission by tobacco maker Philip Morris on the TPP, calling for the US government to enshrine the right to challenge anti-smoking laws in the TPP agreement? And if so, does he support such an approach?
The Honourable Murray McCulley.
Speaker, I have not been briefed on that submission, but I am aware of its existence. I should point out to the member that this is the 4th round currently underway in Auckland at this moment. It's projected there will be another 5 rounds of negotiations next year, with an ambition of getting to some sort of resolution in roughly a year's time. I don't think it would be helpful for us to speculate on all of the submissions and all of the matters that might be proposed by parties associated with these negotiations during that period. Clearly we'll find out when we get to an agreed resolution, should we do so, and we'll all have an opportunity to comment at that time.
Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Minister assure New Zealanders that his government will not weaken our overseas investment laws as part of the TPP agreement, given that the United States has identified our overseas investment laws as a barrier to trade they aim to eliminate as part of the negotiations?
The Honourable Murray McCulley.
Speaker, New Zealand has a framework for ensuring that foreign investment is for the benefit of New Zealand. The government's recently reviewed the overseas investment regime to ensure that foreign investment is in our interests, and I can assure the member that that is the approach that the New Zealand officials will be taking to these negotiations.
Point of order.
Point of order, Dr. Russell Norman.
Mr. Speaker, my question was specifically in relation to whether the government would weaken our overseas investment laws. The Minister said that he liked our overseas investment laws, which is great, but I asked whether he would weaken them and give us an assurance that he would not weaken them.
Well, the member, I don't think, can insist on the Minister giving an assurance. The Minister certainly gave an answer around the government's attitude towards our overseas investment laws in these circumstances. I don't think it was a reasonable answer. The honourable member has further supplementary questions. Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will he assure New Zealanders that his government will not weaken our GE food labelling laws as part of the TPP agreement, given that the United States has identified our GE food labelling laws as a barrier to trade they'd like to eliminate as part of the negotiations?
The Honourable Murray McCulley.
Speaker, I should repeat to the member that this is the 4th round of these negotiations. It's anticipated there will be 5 more such rounds next year. I'm sure that from not just the United States but also the other parties to the negotiations will see many matters floated which they would wish to see progressed in the context of negotiations. It's not helpful for us to speculate about all of them from this distance. All I can say is that the government's position on most of these matters is well known, and that is the approach that our officials will take into the negotiations.
Point of order.
Point of order, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I take note of your earlier ruling that the Minister had addressed the question, and fair enough. On this occasion, he did not even mention the specific, which was GE food labelling laws at all.
Order. If the member had listened to the Minister's answer, what the Minister clearly told the House, in his view, it was not in the public interest to try and conclude a trade negotiation by way of question and answer in this Parliament. I mean, the Minister was making it very clear he did not believe it was in the public interest to give a more specific answer. And that is perfectly within order. Dr. Russell Norman, supplementary question.
Will he assure New Zealanders that his government will not weaken Pharmac as part of the TPP agreement, given that the United States has identified Pharmac as a barrier to trade that it wants to eliminate as part of the TPP negotiations?
The Honourable Murray McCulley.
Speaker, the government's support for the Pharmac model is well known. It's perceived to deliver significant benefits to New Zealand taxpayers. Again, I remind them that there will be a number of further rounds to these negotiations. Many matters will be floated by other parties, and I do not intend to speculate upon them, simply to say that in this respect, with regard to Pharmac, the instructions to New Zealand's officials are very clear.
Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Minister confirm that the New Zealand Government has provided a number of position papers to other governments as part of the TPP negotiations, and will he publicly release these position papers to the New Zealand public?
Speaker,
the Honourable Murray McCully.
Two responses, if I might, Mr. Speaker. Firstly, there clearly have been some position papers lodged by New Zealand officials. Some people who would be quite well known to him leaked one of them a few days ago, for which the government is entirely grateful, because of what it served to demonstrate is that the New Zealand government and officials are standing up for the interests of New Zealanders in these negotiations. In relation to the process itself, can I say that it's not a closed process, that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has called for submissions from New Zealand interests in relation to TPP. All parties are welcome to make such submissions. The discussions underway in Auckland at the moment are open in the sense that there are over 100 national and international observers from interest groups there making their views known, and that will continue to be the approach that is taken as we progress this TPP discussion.
Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Why will he reveal the New Zealand negotiating position to foreign governments in the form of these position papers, but he won't reveal New Zealand's TPP negotiating position to the people of New Zealand?
The Honourable Murray McCully.
Speaker, I've just indicated to the member that the approach that New Zealand's taking to these discussions is well known and open, and to the extent that he and his colleagues want to engage with officials, they're entirely welcome to do so, including in Auckland this week. And what I'd say to him is, as far as the various papers are concerned, clearly our negotiators are taking a view about how they can ensure that they serve New Zealand's interests in the best way in the course of a lengthy negotiation. It is, I'm not going to second-guess their tactics. It is entirely a matter for them as to how they sequence the release of information. I simply ask that they achieve the best result for New Zealanders.
I believe the honourable members had 6 supplementaries. My advice is I apologise, honourable member, but I'm afraid that's the case. Question or point of order, the honourable... Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek firstly to release the submission of Philip Morris International to the TPP to the United States Government.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek leave to release the submission by the biotech industry on New Zealand's GE labelling laws that they'd like to eliminate.
I believe the member is seeking leave to table, not to
to table, my apologies.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection.
I seek leave to table the position paper by the New Zealand Government, one of the position papers that was released recently, leaked in fact, that the Minister referred to.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection.
And, Mr. Speaker, I seek leave to release to table the United States Trade Representative Document 2010 report on technical barriers to trade, which identifies GE labelling as one of the things that the United States wants to eliminate.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is objection. No, there is no objection. There is no objection to that. Question number 2, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, my question is